Morning, calling the Committee on Transportation's March 21st hearing at 10:30 a.m. here at Conference Room 312. We will be hearing several resolutions that have been proposed by our colleagues here at the legislature. So first up, our first measure is HCR 133 HR 114, requesting Department of Transportation to install speed bumps, speed detection devices, photo red light imaging detector systems, and other safety measures in House District 32. I know we received late testimony from Department of Transportation Director Ed Sniffen.
Good morning, Vice Chair Keela, Chair Todd, and members. Melissa Miranda Johnson for the department. We stand on our testimony and support and available for any questions.
Thank you. Up next, individual Natalie Iwasa in opposition. And then lastly, Angela Melody Young in support. Thank you. Is there anyone online or in person that would like to testify on HCR 133/HR 114? Seeing none, members, any questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next measure. HCR 135/HR 116, requesting the Department of Transportation to study and recommend solutions to resolve supply chain issues caused by barge delays to Lanai. First registered testifier for HR 135, we have Chris Nakagawa and Chris Martin from Young Brothers providing comments. Okay, and then up next we have Chair Alice Lee from the Maui County Council in support. And at this time, that is all the registered testifiers we have for HCR 135, HR 116. Is there anyone online or in person that can testify on this measure? Seeing none, members, any questions? Okay. Moving on to the next measure, HCR 154/HR 133, requesting Department of Transportation to conduct a feasibility study on identifying and facilitating the repair and transfer of private or disputed roads. For HCR 154, we have Director Ed Sniffen from Department of Transportation providing comments.
Good morning, Chair. We'll stand on our comments.
Thank you. Is there anyone online or in person that would like to testify on HCR 154? Seeing none, members, are there any questions for DOT? Seeing none, we will move on to the next measure, HCR 156/HR 135, requesting the Department of Transportation to conduct a study on the impact of allowing motor vehicle owners to pay their motor vehicle registration and associated taxes and fees biannually. On HCR 156, we have Department of Transportation Director Sniffen in opposition.
Good morning. We'll stand on our testimony in opposition.
Thank you. Is there anyone else online or in person that would like to testify on HCR 156/HR 135? Seeing none, members, any questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next measure, HCR 157/HR 136, urging the United States and the state to recognize and address the air transportation crisis on Molokai and Lanai. For HCR 157, we have testimony from Bree Texera of Aloha Care in support, and Maui County Council Chair Alice Lee in support. Seeing no other registered testifiers for the measure, is there anyone online or in person that would like to testify for HCR 157/HR 136? Seeing none, there are no one to ask questions to, so move on to the next measure, HCR 223/HR 203, requesting the City and County of Honolulu to convene a task force to study the permitted events in urban Honolulu. We have no registered testifiers for HCR 223/HR 203. Is there anyone online or in person that would like to testify on the measure? Seeing none, there is no one to ask questions to, so we'll move on to the next measure. HCR 49/HR 38, requesting the City and County of Honolulu to conduct a sidewalk feasibility study along Kalihi Street from Kamanaiki Street to Kalihi Valley Park. Seeing no registered testifiers for the measure, we'll move on to the next measure, which is HCR 60/HR 43. urging the Department of Transportation to work with the City and County of Honolulu to implement and plan options for alternative ingress and out egress routes in Pacific Palisades. Up first, we have the Chair of the Pro City Neighborhood Board, Larry Verre, in support. Next, we have Daniel C. Smith in support. And then Charmaine Duran, individual, in support. Is there anyone else online or in person like to testify on the following measure, HCR 60/HR 43? Seeing none and no one to ask questions to, we'll move on to the next measure, HCR 21/HR 12, urging the City, County of Honolulu to work with the Department of Transportation and the Department of Transportation Services to plan and implement options for alternative ingress and egress routes in Mililani, Mauka. First up to testify on HCR 21, Jameson Apana, Hawaii High School Republicans, in support. Up next, we have Vika Laniahalo in support. Jamie Detweiler, Hawaii Federation of Republican Women, in support. Jeff Woodring in support. Claudia Parker, Cindy Ajimine, Rita Kimura, and Mario Sariano in support. Is there anyone else online or in person like to testify on HCR 21, HR 12? Seeing none and with no one to ask questions to, move on to the next measure, HCR 59, urging the City and County of Honolulu to work with the Honolulu Department of Transportation Services and Honolulu Police Department to increase enforcement efforts against illegal electrical bicycles and dirt bike motorcycles to make sidewalks and public roadways safer. For HCR 59, there are no folks registered. Department of Transportation in support.
We'll stand on our testimony in support.
Thank you. Jamie Detweiler, Hawaii Federation of Republican Women, in support. David Francisco in support. Claudia Parker in support. Cindy Ajimine in support. Vika Lainahalo in support. And Mario Soriano in support. Is there anyone else online or in person that would like to testify on HCR 59? Seeing none, members, do you have any questions for DOT? Seeing none, move on to the next measure, HCR 62/HR 45, urging the Department of Transportation to install speed bumps and speed limit signage on the portions of Kapolei Parkway between Kapolei High School and Kapolei Middle School. For HCR 62/HR 45, we have Ed Sniffen, Department of Transportation, in support.
We'll stand on our testimony.
Thank you. Randall Akau from Kanehili Community Associations of the DHHL Hawaiian Homestead Lands, in support. And Annabelle Andres in support. Is there anyone else online or in person like to testify on HCR 62/HR 45? Seeing none, members, do you have any questions for DOT? Seeing none, move on to our last measure of the agenda, HCR 181, HR 161, urging the Department of Health, Department of Transportation, and Department of Land and Natural Resources to take action to reduce the carbon emissions arising from airplane transportation to and from the state. Zoe Teschneider, individual, in support. Sean Williams, Airlines for America, providing comments. Alana James, Hawaiian Airlines, providing comments. Jacob Aki, Alaska Airlines.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, members. Jacob Anki on behalf of Alaska Airlines. We wanted to provide comments while we support the intent of this reso. We wanted to note the complex landscape of federal preemption in aviation regulation and to acknowledge the significant efforts that the airline industry is already doing to reduce our carbon footprint. The domain of aviation regulation, including emissions control, is governed by the FAA under federal law, ensuring uniform, safe, and efficient airspace management. The Air Deregulation Act of 1978 and the Clean Air Act through the EPA also create a federal framework for regulating these air pollutants, and the policy also shares that any state level regulation of airplane emissions would likely be preempted by federal law. Given this framework, we do have concerns that any action taken by any of these departments in regards to reducing any type of carbon would be preempted, and as shared in the testimony by the Airlines for America, the airline industry is already doing a lot to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. And we would like to also share that we are willing to engage in a conversation on how we can voluntarily do this, as well as to work with the state to ensure that issues like promoting the production and use of SAF are ways that we can reduce our carbon footprint. So we just wanted to provide those comments and to share those concerns, and we are willing to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Aki. Seeing no further registered testifiers, HCR 181, HR 161. Is there anyone online or in person like to testify on the measure? Seeing none, we'll take a quick recess for decision making. Okay, reconvening the hearing on the Committee on Transportation here today, March 21st in room 312 for decision making. So the first measure we'll be taking up is HCR 133, HR 114, requesting the Department of Transportation to install speed bumps, speed detection devices, photo red light imaging detector systems, and other safety measures in House District 32. Some of the comments are provided requesting DOT to work in partnership with the City and County of Honolulu, as the City and County have jurisdiction over these roads. So we'll be adding language to request that DOT coordinate with the City and County of Honolulu. So we'll be moving this measure out as a HD1. Members, any questions or comments? Seeing none, Rep. by you for the vote, please.
Members voting on HCR 133, HR 114. Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair voting aye. And Rep. by you voting aye. Rep. Evslin?
Aye.
Representative Kitagawa?
Aye.
Representative Miyake?
Aye.
Representative Onishi?
Aye.
Representative Matsumoto is excused. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Up next, we have HCR 135, HR 116, requesting Department of Transportation to study and recommend solutions to resolve the supply chain issues caused by barge delays to Lanai. We'll be moving this out as is. Members, any questions or discussion? Seeing none, Repayu.
Members voting on HCR 135, HR 116, the recommendation is to pass as is, noting the excused absence of Representative Matsumoto, who will be noted excused for the remainder of this agenda. Are there any members choosing to vote no or with reservations? Chair seeing none, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, Repayu. Up next, we have HCR 154, HR 133, requesting Department of Transportation to conduct a feasibility study on identifying and facilitating the repair and transfer of private or disputed roads. We're moving out this measure as is. Members, any questions or comments? Seeing none, Repayu.
Members voting on HCR 154, HR 133, the recommendation is to pass
No, as is.
as is. Are there any members choosing to vote no or with reservations? Seeing none, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Up next, we have HCR 156, HR 135, requesting Department of Transportation to conduct a study on the impact of allowing motor vehicle owners to pay their motor vehicle registration and associated taxes and fees biannually. I recognize the testimony in opposition from the Department of Transportation, but we will be moving out this resolution as is. Members, any questions or comments? Seeing none, Repayu.
Members voting on HCR 156, HR 133, 135, excuse me, Chair's recommendation is to pass as is. Are there any members choosing to vote no or with reservations? Chair seeing none, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Up next, we have HCR 157, HR 136, urging the United States and the state to recognize and address the air transportation crisis on Molokai and Lanai. Members, we're moving out this resolution as is. Is there any questions or comments? Seeing none, Repayu.
Members voting on HCR 157, HR 136, the recommendation is to pass as is. Are there any members choosing to vote no or with reservations? Chair seeing none, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Next measure, HCR 223, HR 203, requesting the City and County of Honolulu to convene a task force to study permitted events in urban Honolulu. Members will be moving out this resolution as a House Draft 1, doing some technical amendments for clarity, consistency, and style. Members, are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, Repayu.
Members voting on HCR 223, HR 203, recommendation is to pass with amendments. Are there any members choosing to vote no or with reservations? Chair seeing none, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Members, up next, HCR 49, HR 38, requesting the City and County of Honolulu to conduct a sidewalk feasibility study along Kalihi Street from Kamanaiki Street to Kalihi Valley Park. Members, we're moving out this measure as is. Is there any questions or comments? Seeing none, Repayu.
Members voting on HCR 49, HR 38, recommendation is to pass as is. Any members choosing to vote with reservations or no? Seeing none, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Members, up next, HCR 60, HR 43, urging the Department of Transportation to work with the City and County of Honolulu to plan and implement options for alternative ingress and egress routes in Pacific Palisades. Members, moving out this resolution as is. Is there any questions or comments? Seeing none, Repayu.
Members voting on HCR 60, HR 43, recommendation is to pass as is. Any members choosing to vote no or with reservations? Seeing none, your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, members, HCR 21, HR 12, urging the City and County of Honolulu to work with the Department of Transportation and Department of Transportation Services to plan and implement options for alternative egress and egress in Mililai Mauka. We'll be moving on this as an HD1. So some of the amendments we'll be making is the amendments for clarity, consistency, and style. We'll be deleting the references to Department of Transportation Services and urge the City and County of Honolulu to work with Department of Transportation. And the resolution asks the City and County to report to the legislature 20 days prior to the convening of regular session of 2024, which has passed. So we need to update the 2024 date to 2025. So with those amendments, we will be moving this out as HD1. Members, any questions or comments? Seeing none, Repayu.
Members voting on HCR 21, HR 12, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Any members choosing to vote no or with reservations? Chair seeing none, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Members, HCR 59 urging the City and County of Honolulu to work with the Honolulu Department of Transportation Services and the Honolulu Police Department to increase efforts against illegal electric bicycles and dirt bike motorcycles to make sidewalks and public roadways safer. Okay, we're moving out this as an HD1, so some of the amendments will be needed for clarity, consistency, and style. The resolution asking City and County of Honolulu to work with Department of Transportation Services and HPD are both purview of the county, so we'll be deleting the references to the City and County of Honolulu and instead urge the Department of Transportation Services of the City and County of Honolulu and Honolulu Police Department to increase the enforcement efforts described in the resolution. Members, moving on as HD1, any questions or comments? Seeing none, Rep. you.
Members voting on HCR 59, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Are there any members choosing to vote no or with reservations? Chair seeing none, the measure is adopted.
Thank you. All right, members, HCR 62, HR 45, urging Department of Transportation to install speed bumps and speed limit signage on the portions of Kapolei Parkway between Kapolei High School and Kapolei Middle School. So similar to the first measure that we heard, just making some amendments to allow the language of the DOT working in partnership with City and County Honolulu. So we'll just add language to have both departments and agencies work together on any future plans. So we're moving out this measure as HD1 with those amendments. Members, any questions or comments? Seeing none, Rep. you.
Members voting on HCR 62, HR 45, the recommendation is to pass with amendments. Are there any members choosing to vote no or with reservations? Seeing none, the recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, Rep. you. All right, members, last measure, HCR 181, HR 161, urging Department of Health, Department of Transportation, and Department of Land and Natural Resources to take action to reduce carbon emissions arising from airplane transportation to and from the state. Noting the testimony from Alaska Airlines that this is pretty much federally regulated and preempted, and the state has to follow pretty much federal guidelines. We will move this out as HD1, but I do want to note that this is federally regulated, so we have little to no control. But, so when we are as HD1 with some technical amendments for clarity, consistency, and style, members, any questions or comments? Seeing none, Rep. you.
Members voting on HCR 181, HR 161, the recommendation is to pass with amendments. Are there any members choosing to vote no or with reservations? Chair seeing none, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, Rep. you. All right, members, we are adjourned.